You've probably heard about the two forces that control you before, the avoidance of pain and the pursuit of pleasure, but this is not really detailed enough. And there are three forces that control you, not two. And it's the third one that really makes people have an addiction or stops you from getting shit done. So if you want to get more good shit done or stop doing dumb shit, then this is really an important lesson for you to learn. And to introduce this topic, who else better to introduce it than a terrible AI video of one of a character that I have talked about in a previous training session, one of my favorite birds in the world, one of the dumbest animals that exist, the gray shrike.
You may be fooled by its adorable appearance. A tiny bird called the shrike is known to be a ruthless killer.
So the male version of the gray shrike has this weird habit where he will just go around and kill a bunch of animals and then spike them onto trees.
The small bird preys on mice, lizards, and other birds, and it impales its catch on the nearest spike before tearing into it. Shrikes will kill even when they aren't hungry.
You could think of this, as kind of like a savings account, right? Like he's just making sure that he has food to spare in case there's no food to spare later.
They are unable to hold onto their food to eat it. Shrikes instead pick up the catch and drop it onto a spiky object. These small birds have adapted to use both natural and man-made features to their advantage, impaling victims on thorns, garden forks, and even barbed wire.
It's not the dumbest thing to have evolved in his mind, but this habit is now seen more of a sexual selection thing. So the real reason that he does it is because the female gray shrike is super superficial. She will just look for the male gray shrike with the most dead animals in his tree, and then she will mate with him. So if you think this is a really weird behavior, it is. But if you think humans don't do the same thing, then you're not paying attention. How many men will go out and buy a Lexus or a BMW or a Ferrari or God forbid a Lamborghini, and then start paying two, three, $4,000 a month to pay it off when they really don't have that money in the beginning? They're just trying to their ego is trying to represent wealth in order to attract women. So it's all, the end result is the same. All that we want to do is procreate, whether you want to, like, consciously or not. That's all you're designed to do by natural selection, is your genetics want to survive for millions of years. And so far, if you're alive, your genetics have survived for millions of years, and they intend to keep doing that. So with the gray shrike, he's learned a purpose. Okay, now this is one of the things that motivates you. When people say, people are motivated by the pursuit of pleasure. Pleasure is just one type of happiness. There are three types of happiness: pleasure, passion, and purpose. This is his purpose. Pleasure is just sex, drugs, alcohol. Anything that just gives you a dopamine hit is pleasure. When you have a passion and you're doing an artwork or you're making a song or you're just trying to do something bigger than yourself, that's passion. That's stuff where you could just do it for hours and time doesn't matter and you love it, right? That's passion. It's got dopamine in it, but it's also got a lot of serotonin, and serotonin lasts longer. You don't need another hit of it, right? If you've been painting all day and you've just made a great painting, you can just stop and go home and be satisfied, fulfilled. You don't really need to do it again. Whereas if you're smoking a cigarette, you're going to need to do it again and again and again. Different type of happiness. Then there is purpose. This is the third type of happiness. And that's just when you do the same kind of thing, but you're doing it for other people. You're now helping the species. You're helping something much bigger than yourself. And it's very much like passion, but it's more based on serotonin, which means you kind of just stay happy. The happiness doesn't fade as quickly as it does with the others. So this bird's habit of killing mammals and insects and putting them onto thorns, it's his purpose. It's his ultimate goal in life. It fulfills him. It's his instinct, and he will do it all day long because it's what he does. It's what that animal has been designed by natural selection to do. So that's one thing that motivates you. The second thing is also the avoidance of pain, physical pain. It's pretty real pain. There's emotional pain. There's, mental anguish, right? There's spiritual pain. There's a lot of different types of pain. You could have physiological pain. You just got a busted knee or something. there's a lot of types of different pain, and that will motivate you to avoid it, right? So they're the two that everyone talks about, although they don't expand on it as much as I just have now. But that's generally the two people learn about and then they stop. But there is a third thing that motivates you that is really important to understand. And the third thing is to do those first two things in the most energy efficient way possible. When you're trying to change your behavior, change your life, become somebody else, somebody better, be your best self, whatever, right? Whenever you're changing and it's difficult and you have a something stopping you, this is what you need to look at. You may have found a shortcut. Now, to explain the shortcut, I want to talk about the Grayshrike again, my favorite animal and the dumbest animal in the world. The question is, if this animal had a choice, let's say you could train the animal to push a red or a blue button, right? And if he pushes the blue button, he can just keep going out and killing animals and doing what he is designed to do. And that makes him happy. It's his purpose. But if he clicks the red button, suddenly a little trapdoor opens up underneath him, and then there's a beautiful 10 out of 10 female Grayshrike ready to mate with him. What will he do? Now think about this, because a lot of people get it wrong. If he clicks the blue button, he gets to fulfill his purpose, which is his entire reason for being, right? But the result of his purpose is to procreate. It's to attract a female. So if you just put a female in front of him that doesn't care about the animals, doesn't care about reality, doesn't care if the babies are going to get fed, and just says, hey, I'm down, let's mate, I'll make you a baby, what's the Grayshrike going to do? So a lot of people get this wrong because they just think of pain and pleasure, and this is his purpose, right? And sex is only pleasure. But when you consider the energy that must go in to fulfilling his purpose, everything changes. Now he can just go and sleep with this chick instantly, right now. And there's a lot to be said for that, because it's a lot less energy has to be expended. And your mind is always going to take into how much energy it takes for you to become happy, whichever happiness that is. Purpose will always fulfill you more, but pleasure will usually have the priority, especially if Albert, your prefrontal cortex part of your brain, is tired, weak, lonely, anything like that, and Rex takes over. Then it's just all pleasure, and in the most energy efficient way. So just like this Grayshrike now will not fulfill his purpose, he will just sleep with this woman all day, this lady, this chick, female bird, chick. Suddenly there's no food source, right? It's not a sustainable lifestyle anymore, and it's going to lead to him dying. The bird, they've done this has been studied. He will just keep on having sex with the bird until he dies. And he won't go out and feed himself. He won't go out and feed her. He won't do any of the things that his purpose. He will just ignore his purpose. So when you have an addiction problem, you are stuck in the same thing. And what we call it is the pleasure trap, right? It's the pleasure trap. Because sure, the ultimate goal is to procreate for all living organisms. But sex is dopamine. It's just pleasure. It doesn't last. It doesn't keep you fulfilled. It's just you need to do it again and again. Same with drugs, same with alcohol, same with gambling, same with your phone, right? Every social media app on your phone is designed to give you dopamine and nothing but. And they do it in the most energy efficient way possible. So when you want to think about changing your behavior, quitting your addiction, getting on with life, and doing it in a real way, consider this triforce, this triad, these three things that completely control you and control every decision you make. Because even if you are avoiding pain, all types of pain, and you are in pursuit of happiness, all types of happiness, even if you're doing that, if you are just being fooled by doing it in the most energy efficient way possible, you may be doing it wrong. You may get the wrong result. It may not be sustainable. So sure, you can sit at home and smoke weed all day, but eventually you're going to run out of money. You're going to run out of friends. You're going to run out of food. You're going to get kicked out of your house. You're going to be homeless. It just goes down, 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 down. So that is the 3 forces that control you. And if you don't look at all 3 of them, then you are very susceptible to fall into what we call the pleasure trap.